Hey everybody, this is Elizabeth with World's Cup of Joe, Awaken Your Soul. Joanne and I are bringing you an exclusive raw conversation talking about the negative polarity and when they pull. You will not find other coaches talking about this stuff. They will not talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of being in the throes of this connection. But we wanted to share it with you because we wanted you guys that are out there to know you're not alone, to know that you are not crazy for what you're feeling and what you're experiencing, and that it happens to all of us, no matter what stage of the journey we are in. If you would like to see more of these types of videos, please subscribe, share them with friends, anyone you know that's in this connection that may benefit from this. We'll continue to add more of them. Before we start this video, we wanted to let you guys know we have created amazing ways to be empowered in this journey. We created our 30-day detox program, and now we have payment plans available for those of you that are interested, but maybe you just needed a more affordable way to purchase different packages. We have that as an option now. So you can start with as little as $50 to start feeling better. And Joanne and I created this with 100% love in mind. We wanted to create an affordable way to feel better in this connection, to feel better on this journey. And our 30-day detox has been seriously transforming lives. It is changing people's lives. We've had clients that have been blocked for over a year. They've done the detox. They've performed it to a T. They have aligned with soul, and they've had their person show up at their door. They've had their person text them after not hearing from them for months. This is legit. But more importantly than all of that is that our clients who are doing this are finding themselves, the love that they feel for themselves. They are feeling incredible and they are loving life. So without further ado, enjoy this video.
Hi, my love. We are in the process. We're in the process of doing our Q&As for our Ascension Cafe. But before we did that, we wanted to just record real quick for our YouTube subscribers. We love you guys. This is a special one just for you guys. Sometimes right before our Ascension Cafe call, we kind of do like a rundown of exciting things we want to talk about. And Elizabeth was starting to talk about stuff regarding her other self. And I was like, hold on, no, wait, let's record. And we want to do more of these because we want you guys to get as much raw, honest love from us. When you're in the throes of your twin flame journey, it might feel like you're crazy and you're messed up and all these things, right? So we want to, when we're about to have these raw, beautiful, vulnerable conversations, we're just going to hit record and you guys with us because you're part of our journey too. Part of our I'm hitting record. This is just me and Elizabeth just sending you guys a glimpse of kind of the stuff that goes through
that we're dealing with too, that we're speaking with, and it's it is. We're all in this journey together. That's what I always say. We're in this journey together. We're all going through it. Whatever stage you're at in this journey, we're all doing it together. So, Joanne, I'll catch up the viewers with basically the start, and then I'll go into where I was at with you. So back in right at my dark night, my person left me. He moved out without me knowing. I came home to a letter on the door that he was moving out. I had no idea. All of his stuff was gone. And that same day that he moved out, I started experiencing really bad back pain, which over the next couple of days after he was gone and I was going through my dark night, my back pain intensified so much that I couldn't move. I couldn't move in bed. I couldn't get up to go to the bathroom on my own. I couldn't sit down to go to the bathroom. I was in that much pain. It was pretty excruciating and awful. And I called my person and I was like, I need to go to the hospital. I'm in pain. I can't move. So he came over to take me to the hospital, and then he picked me up from the hospital. Well, actually, back up. He couldn't take me to the hospital. He was going to try to take me to the hospital. I could not get out of bed, and he could not take me down the stairs. So we had to call 911. I had to get an injection of fentanyl because they could not move me until the pain subsided, and then they could carry me down in a chair, a chairlift, down my stairs to get me to the hospital. I went in an ambulance, went to the hospital. So my person picked me up from the hospital once I finally got released, and he basically dropped me off at the house and left. And that's where this story starts. This is where I started with Joanne, telling her, catching her up, that I was basically triggered last night. My dog just recently had surgery, and she can't jump on the bed to sleep with us. So my person wanted to lay blankets down on the floor, sleep with her on the floor, make sure she's comfortable. And my mind, I was out of soul. I was totally in mind. My mind started going to, how could this person I love be so kind and considerate to an animal, which I'm grateful that he is, but how could he be so caring and kind to an animal? But in my darkest days and my most painful experience of my back not being able to move, he couldn't be with me. And it triggered me. And I went to bed last night holding that energy in because I didn't want to start a fight. I knew I was in mind and I didn't want to start anything. But I woke up in the middle of the night and that energy was still there. And I turned to him as we were sleeping on the floor, and I told him, I said, I was triggered last night. And he says, what were you triggered about? And I tell him, I said, how could you be so kind to the dog and make sure she's comfortable and sleep on the floor and do all of this stuff? I said, but when I was in my worst pain, when my back hurt that time, you couldn't even stay and be with me. And he was like, why are you bringing this up? And I just said, because it bothers me. It bothers me how you could do that. I could be with you for everything you've gone through, but when I'm in my worst point, I said, and I guess it's a fear that I have still. What if something happens to me down the road and you won't be there? And he tells me, you have to look at it in the context. I had just left. You had basically driven me off. And it was those words, Joanne, you'd basically driven me off, that he had never told me before. He'd never said that out loud before. He'd always just said, like, things weren't good, blah, blah, but it was like out and out. You had driven me off and I could not stand to be around you. And it was like this gut punch. He says this and it's like this gut punch. It confirmed, holy cow, like I was the cause of our demise. And it was like, after that, he reached, I tried my best to get back into soul, to get out of mind. And, I reached over and I laid on him. I was just like, I could either stew about this and get angry, or I could come back to soul, hold his hand, and let this go. And that's what I chose to do. But, oh, my God, it was so hard to hear that.
Yeah.
It's crazy because we think it's like their
fault. You know what I mean? Like they left.
But we've never seen the perspective
of the negative polarities
where it's almost like they had no choice.
That's what I heard. It's like
they had
no choice.
The energy was too much.
Where
you drove them away. Your energy.
It's like,
that's what I heard, love. Your
energy drove them away.
And that's what he admitted. And what's so crazy is like, I, last night, while I was in mind, was looking at it from the 3D perspective of I was in physical pain to the worst I could have ever imagined, and this man could not be with me. How could someone do that to someone else? And it was even like myself. I couldn't understand in the 5D. You know what I mean? Like my mind couldn't wrap itself around about that. This is about energy. It was like my mind was grasping. Anyone with a heart should be able to stay with someone that's in that much pain, and he couldn't. And I couldn't understand.
And so that's like, it's painful
to now look at it in the lens
of soul, right? Like through the lens of
soul.
Someone who
loves you can't come to you. They
can't come to you. And the fact that he's never said that
to you before in those terms.
Never.
It almost kind of like makes you feel their standpoint, because it's easy for us to just know what we're experiencing.
It's what we're experiencing all the time. How many times have we said, like, they can't be in your energy, they can't be in your energy, they can't be in your energy? He said, I couldn't be near you. You basically drove me away and I couldn't be near you. And it was just like, and then another step of this was, I kept asking myself, why is this trigger coming up for me? What is this trigger trying to do for me? Because I know that our triggers try to tell us, we talk to clients about this all the time. And I really do believe that the trigger that came up was my fear of him not being there if something happens. And then, you know what I told myself? This is what I told myself, and this is what sort of subsided that whole trigger was, he wasn't there the first time. I made it through. I can make it through any freaking thing if I'm by myself. I don't need him to be there for me. Yes, it's nice. It's nice when you feel horrible and you can't move to have someone there. But at the end of the day, we have to be able to know that we can take care of ourselves with or without anybody else. We need to know that. And it was like, as soon as I told myself I made it through that without having to make it through. Yes. And that's what my trigger was trying. That's what my fear was trying to hold on to. Was like, oh my gosh, you can't be alone if something bad happens to you. Well, yeah, I can. I was alone before, and I could be alone again if it had to be that way. And it's like, once I got that, it was like the trigger subsided. That's when I was able to reach out and grasp his hand. And it was like that trigger was like this release, like I could breathe again.
You can do this.
Yeah, but
you can do this, that you got this.
They don't need to be there
to prove to you can do that. And then I kind of
want to backtrack. I want to backtrack to where you said, why if you leave me again, right? Like, so that's a fear of the past. They'll never, ever be able to leave you when you're in soul. That was the asleep old self.
This is why I even had that fear. Because get this, guys, get this, listeners, this is huge. Because we are in a really great relationship. But this is what he said as soon as I brought it up. He said, it's almost like you're trying to push me away now. I was like, what? But he's right, because it was mind. It was mind energy.
Still mind.
To bring it up
and
again.
He felt push, and he felt it, and he expressed it in those words. It's like you're trying to do it right now with me. And I was like, it snapped me out of it. Like, what the hell am I doing? Like, this man is good to me. Why is my mind allowing me to bring up something to throw a rock in our relationship right now? You know what I mean? Like, to throw something that doesn't need to be there. Like, we are doing so well. Why would mind bring that up? But it's like that trigger had to be able to be released that I don't need anybody.
And that's why this connection is like the most
beautiful, like most
like dynamic
one, because you're
always constantly reminded to stay in soul. Even for a second, you go into mind and use any synergy to feed the mind to create push, like instantaneously, like it's all mind. You're bringing up the past. He's being sweet to your baby that just came home from surgery. Oh my goodness! And you're making it about you're making it about you.
I know. It's awesome.
That's what mind tells.
No judgment.
No judgment.
About my past. The mind was feeling insecure. The mind was feeling fear. The mind was going crazy. The mind had something to release, and that's what it was. It was releasing the fear that I would be left alone. And I don't need to fear that. Yeah, I don't need to fear that.
And you don't need it anymore because you know
that you would be okay.
Yeah.
You know you would be okay no matter what. No matter what. You're going to get through anything. That's what your soul showed you.
You had that trigger to be released to show you that you don't need
anybody to get through anything. You got this, always.
Yeah, always.
I love this.
Thank you for sharing, my love.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for being there. But I'm good. I mean, we go through it. Mine was a mess. Mine was But it was a different, I have to say, this trigger felt different in the sense of that addictive wasn't there as strong. It was more like this weird sadness, this weird sadness trigger. Like I needed to uncover, I needed to hear it from him, like why he could be that way. And I think once I heard his version, it was like the mind could be at ease. You know, I didn't need to fight it. That was his perspective. There's no need to fight it.
It was kind of cool to see it from his side too, because we don't think about them. We don't think about our energy and how much it's suffocating. That's the best way to think about it. It's suffocating to release so many expectations from someone who is you. You know what I mean? Like they're us. And so if you look at a sleep cell who is like just like consuming every possibility to have and be and be near this person who we already are. And so that's why it's so push. It's such a push because they're us. So it's not like you can fake that. He can feel it from the moment you call them to say you need help. Right? He felt that energy of need. I need you to take care of me. I need you to help me. I can't live my life without you. And you're me. You're me. So that me, that like, it's like high intensified like energy just choking them, where he was like, you pushed me out. I had no choice. It was like, we never look at that energy being so toxic that it...
we look at our pain. We don't see the pain that they're going through. And it's got to be painful if they couldn't...
It's almost worse than ours. Because we at least know what we're experiencing. We at least know what this is. And so can you imagine somebody who doesn't know and it just can't breathe? Why can't I breathe right now? Why do I... And I love her to death. She's my world. But I can't even be near her because I can't breathe. And then do you see the difference in the shift now that you're balanced, now that you're in the relating experience? You can watch the push and pull like instantly. Can you imagine before when we just push?
Yeah, there was never... It was, like you said, it just was push. It was always one-sided push. And one push rolled into another push, into another push, into another push. It would like branch off. And no, it's like push. Okay, I get it. I'm pulling back.
I realize now that most of our arguments now, when I watch it, they're so petty. They're the pettiest thing when you can see it from mind. When you see it from mind and you look at it and you like kind of put a magnifying glass, you're like, what the crap? What was that? What was that? You know, and it's like, it doesn't make sense to us right now, but when you experience it in those moments, it's like a release of like expectations from the mind. It was like a release of like fear, that your worst freaking fear that can happen just comes out, and it's like that energy is suffocating us. And if we expect to give that same energy to them and expect them to come to us when we can't even deal with our own energy in push, we don't even want to suffer with that energy by ourselves. Right. How do we expect, right? Because when you're in push and it's like cray, the mind just thinks they're the antidote to fixing this situation here. Like, I'm going through this like situation. They're going to fix me. They're going to make it better. My life will be better once they come back to me. My life will be better once they fix me. My life will be better if they're near me and they're with me. No.
Yeah, no.
That's so much expectations from them. And again, it's just like in like 10 feet up from the situation and all our situations. They're us. How crazy that to expect so much for something that's not even outside of us. They're literally us.
Like, they have problems fixing themselves. How do we expect them to fix us, right?
And that's
they
why
have their own crap to juggle. They can't juggle our crap too.
That's why I always say I love being awake in TF, because we know exactly what's happening. We know exactly what our energy is doing. And we get to consciously always choose if we're going to watch the energy or we're going to feed it. We're going to feed it. I'm going to get in my head. I'm going to get all cray-cray, and I'm going to push all this energy into him. And when I push energy into my other self, I feel like crap. And they don't even know why they can't be in the room with me. They can't be in the room with me. They don't want to be in the house with me. It's so toxic. It's toxic for everybody. It's not just toxic for me, but everybody in the house, right?
Yeah.
But as soon as you pull it in, as soon as you watch it, and it's like, not me, I'm soul. The door is locked and they find their way in here, right? As you pull it in, as soon as you align with soul, guess who's right next to you? Guess who can't be away from you? It's that instant. It's a shift. They're us. They can't be away from you when you're in soul, because they're you're freaking soul. And so, like, choosing to entertain the mind is us choosing to stay asleep. It's us choosing to stay asleep and entertain a part of us that isn't even us. And the only way that our connection thrives is when we align with the part of us that is the true us. They're like our best freaking teachers. It's crazy.
Yes, and the reason I really wanted to come on and talk about this, because this journey is so sacred, and so normally, like, this is not something I would recommend to people to go and tell everybody stuff, but I'm doing this because I want you guys to know that we all experience this. We all have our days.
Mm-hmm. And the beautiful part is what you do when you're experiencing those days. Because now you can watch it, now you can pull it, and now you can balance it. And that's what makes this so empowering. This is so empowering when you can watch it, and it was like, I needed to release that so that I can release my fear. I needed to release that so I can understand what my other self experienced. It's beautiful. Right. It's amazing that you can share that love.
And that is why I wanted to share it, because before, where I would just be in a push mode, this time, even though I wasn't pushed, I was also trying to figure out why. Why am I in push? What is the mind going through? And if I can leave that takeaway with someone else that's going through this situation, like when you're going through this stuff, I want you guys to realize that mind's going through this stuff because soul is trying to uncover something that it needs to release.
I love it. Thank you, love.
Thank you, doll.
Thank you for sharing. This is amazing, and I'm proud of you for being able to jump through that crazy trigger. Cray. Told you. I sometimes have cray. I sent Elizabeth, and I think you guys will appreciate this, but there's this text that I sent her before. I know there's two parts. There's two parts to this. Okay, so before cray us, right before we got kind of awakened and before we created Cup of Joe, I used to tell Elizabeth I was like a Chucky doll, like a bomb, right? And me and her kind of connected on this, but it would be like calm, normal, chill, and then it's like kaboom, like and it was a picture of Chucky where it was just like when you just like drop a bomb and it's like crazy, right? That was the first text. Well, anyway, yesterday I saw a text and it was Chucky like chilling in a meditative state, and it was like, oh my gosh,
chair on the beach, just relaxing and chilling.
And it was like, hold on, I gotta pull it up. Okay. It says, when you used to be crazy, but now you want peace. And it has Chucky chilling, and I was like, that's not. We used to be a bomb. We used to be cray, and now we just want peace. Yeah. We can watch the cray. We can watch the cray, because I'll see the crazy stuff that comes from the mind. and I'll watch it. And sometimes I'll like look at it and I'll be like, what? Why? But sometimes it like consumes you, and then you're just like, sorry, I haven't meditated today. You know what I mean? And I think that's what makes it, again, more empowering now. Old me would have just been such a little like crybaby. I would say just be crazy, and I blamed him for everything. I blamed him everything and the world everything. And now I know that wasn't me. That was me feeding my addictive energy. That was me looking through the lens of the sleep cell, right?
You
the one
like,
that I was programmed.
You go from woe is me type of attitude to whoa, it's me. You know what I mean?
It's ownership. You're owning your own shit. You're just like, I know that was from, I just did that. And I know that's not me. I know that's not me. And you know what? I think sometimes too, I feel like a lot of this stuff is being released from when we're little. Like, I know there's some like small young Joanne that wasn't like hugged enough and just, didn't hear the right message. And then he says something now, which isn't that big of a deal. And I'm just like freaking crying like a crybaby, like tears everywhere. And I'm like, okay, hold on. That wasn't that big of a deal. You didn't say anything bad. And then this thing just comes out of me, a rush of like childhood like wounds that comes out of me. And I'm just like, oh, that's why I did that. But you know what I mean? We're owning our stuff.
It's funny you say that, because now that you bring that up, that's huge, because my mom had cancer when I was 10. Her and my dad were already divorced, but my whole childhood, my mom used to say, I'm so lucky I'm not married to your dad, because if I was, he would have left me as soon as I got cancer. He would have never stuck around to be with me at my worst. And so it was like I had this, so you're just like, this is just a whole new, like, whoa. I heard my entire childhood that spouses will not remain if their partners go through something terrible. They'll leave, because you don't stick around if your spouse is going through some kind of ailment. So that must be where that fear came from.
That is you. Yeah, not true. Yeah. Not your story. Cancel that. But you're right. That's a lot of the stuff that's coming out are like things that we've held on to that were not our stories. They're not us. And we don't need to experience these things that we just carry from other people, from our parents, from society. We don't need to own them like they're still us. That was just a part of us that took that in, but it doesn't have to consume our now moment anymore. We're free. And that's what makes this connection so beautiful, because they're the catalyst to always remind us who we are. They're the catalyst to always release these like energies of false self. This is the false old self, the old us that used to think we weren't worthy and we had to prove ourselves. And the limitations that our parents had, limitations that other people had, we took it like it's our limitation. But we don't have to anymore. We can release them. And they'll remind us every time. They're going to remind us every time. They're the biggest catalyst.
Yeah.
I love these talks, love. We need to do these more. I love you. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, love.
Bye, guys.